Hi everyone. So this week we're going to focus on Lower Niger, and in particular the Benin civilization. So here I have a map, so you kind of have a reference here of Africa, of exactly what area of Africa we are looking at. I have a video up on Blackboard that runs through the history of the area that in the Lower Niger in the Benin Society that we're beginning with. So I ask that you please watch the history first. I also have notes up for you to read through. So one or the other or both is good. So their king is called an Oba. So this is one of their Obas. And today he really serves more as a government advisor than anything else. But in the past, he has served, a much higher role in their government and really been like this connection between the idea of the gods and a human form. So when he's wearing his costume that I'm showing you here, he's considered to be transformed by his costume and regalia into an actual piece of art. And his tunic and headdress are fashioned of coral beads. This is this reddish orange color. And this to them is very symbolic. It's very powerful as far as the use of it in his dress, but also in artwork. And it's also very expensive. It's held in very high kind of esteem in their society. He also has amulets of ivory. So in fact, every aspect of the king's dress, as well as his ritual gestures, contribute to his central role in maintaining order in the universe. So as I said, he's really looked at as almost like a god walking around here on Earth. His headdress points upward like a spiritual antenna to the celestial realm while adding height to the regalia image. So it makes him taller, right? So here we have a personal altar, and in the middle here we have the Oba, the king. So one thing, and here also you notice that he's always shown much larger than everybody else. And we see that often in art, that whoever's the most important person is going to be shown as being the largest. So this complex copper alloyed casting with high relief forms around the cylinder in two registers. So we have a register here and a register here, and a hierarchical group. So we have, this being the king and his attendants here on the top. It's rendered in 3 dimensions on the top, and then we could, all the way around, and then here is a relief. And as I said, the king is showed much larger, and this was made in the 18th century for the king, and it's one of the really amazing casts that we'll be looking at, metal casts that we'll be looking at from the Benin art today. And it's just so intricate, not only with, the castings here, but even in the background here, all this detail. And very hard to do. And I did have a video last week or the week before that ran through some of the techniques of casting in lost wax. Now, there is lost wax casting that the Greeks invented earlier, but there's no knowledge that these two groups ever had any contact. So the lost wax casting of the metal that's coming out of this area of Africa is a technique. These are techniques that they invented themselves. And in fact, the two techniques of lost wax are very different from one another. So here we're looking at a brass plaque, and these are really important. I have a video that runs through a number of these brass plaques and tells about the history of them. This is really important because these plaques were, one, they were in the palace of the Oba, but then also the history of the plaques of how they ended up in London and elsewhere shows, you know, the horrible situation that these people had to go through, where they were colonized by the British and conquered by the British. And I also have a video for you to watch, an article for you to read for your quiz this week about this situation. But we have here figures who are entering into the palace and looking across, it is thought, to the other side. They would be looking at the king. And so here we actually have a representation of these plaques, that how they would have been seen on the walls in the palace. And we have other references to other things that are made here. These are very symbolic. These forms, we'll see them a lot. And we see things like the snake up here. So all of these things are very symbolic. And if you watch the video, the short little video I have up, Art Smart video, you will learn about those more. So now what I'm showing you is the shrine to Olokan, and this is the shrine in the Benin city, which is in Nigeria today. And one thing you'll notice is some of the figures are painted with white paint. And in the shrine, there's this step platform, and some of the figures inhabited are, as I just said, painted white. Strings of cowries hang from the ceiling, and the cowries are these shells that were at one point actually used for money, and they are very important within the society. And then, well, we have other adornments on the platform and the offering bowl in front of the deity. Cowries, as I just said, were used for currency at one point in this region. And it's really, so these strings of them here and here are really to indicate Olokan's wealth. And Olokan was thought to be the god that was in this complex layer living beneath the river, and really this combination of these different sections of the world that they divided their beliefs into. Next, I show you here this plaque, and this is of one of the Obas, and you see right away it's a king, an Oba, because of the head dress here, the crown. Again, we have this thing that is sticking up on top, and I explained it's one, it makes him taller, but it's to have this connection to the other worlds, this concept of the other worlds. And then these necklaces made out of the orange red coral are very significant. And in fact, his whole crown, just like in the photograph I showed you, the crown and the whole tunic top here, and then the necklaces or anklets, I should say, on the bottom here, these are all made out of this coral. So it's just, again, showing his wealth, showing his power. And this is also indicated, he holds two leopards here. and the leopards being the fiercest animals in the jungle. So he's holding these leopards to show how he is so fierce, he is so brave. And then the interesting other animal here is a mudfish. Mudfish are very symbolic within the Benin art because during the dry season, the mudfish bury down into the ground and they live under the mud. They like hibernate under the mud during the dry season. So again, this concept of these two worlds are very important. So they're up and about during the rainy season, but then they're under the ground in another world during the dry season is the belief. So I have a video up that runs through this plaque and a number of these plaques. So I really am asking you to please watch the video.